Welcome back. This is video 3 of the Bitty Bit Cuddle Baby pattern, and in this video we will be stuffing the baby body. So there isn't a right or wrong way really to stuff your baby's body. I'm going to show you a couple of options, things that I like to do. The first one is using a weighting material. I'm using plastic pellets here. And I'm using the funnel with a measuring teaspoon, and I put about a teaspoon in each foot, and I shake those pellets down in there. It takes a little effort. You can also use your chopstick and kind of push them down that way. The goal here is to get the feet really firm and full of pellets because you want that weight, and you want it to fully fill the feet all the way to right past the ankle actually. So it'll take a little time to work it down in there. I would not recommend this method if you're making the doll for a very young child, a toddler, because the pellets are not enclosed in a separate packet inside, just for safety reasons. If you want to use a natural weight material, you can use smooth stones, smooth round glass beads that are used in other types of doll making. There's a lot of options here. I just wouldn't use a food item like we've talked about in the other videos. So once you get it past the ankle, or right at the ankle, right past the ankle, then we're going to add wool. And the first tufts of wool that you're going to push down in there, you want it to be really firm. You want to push quite a bit of wool down in there, and you want to push quite firmly to seal up the beads, basically is how I look at it. And do that in both the legs. Then once it's sealed and you have some firm wool right above the ankle, to fill the rest of the leg, you just want to fill it more softly, and you also want to leave some open space where the leg meets the belly, because you want the legs, at least I like to have the legs have a little bit of movement. Of course, it's totally up to you. If you'd rather it be, completely fluffy, puffy, chubby all the way up, you could do that. It's totally up to you. It also depends on the fabric you're using. This fabric is that sweater material that I told you about earlier, so it's kind of thick. So stuffing the arms now, I'm not even actually stuffing the arms. I'm only going to stuff the hands and make them really, really firm, because wool and other stuffing materials do compress with time. So I want to put a lot of wool down into those hands and get them really firm. If you're using a more flimsy type of knit fabric or even silk, you probably want to use more filling material. Now here's another option for you. No weight material in the feet this time, it's just wool. And I'm going to shove that wool down in there, small tufts at a time, but I'm going to push it down in really firmly. I want to put a lot of wool down in the feet. It'll hold a lot more filling than what you think it will. And again, like I mentioned about the hands, you want these feet to be really hard. I mean, I wouldn't quite say rock hard, but you want them really firm because they will soften up over time. Then once you have your feet really firm, then finish the legs the same way you did on the blue doll that I just did a minute ago. You want it a little softer, and you want to leave space between where the leg meets the belly, because you want to have some movement. At least I prefer to have movement there. So the legs are stuffed definitely more softly. Now this is a cotton knit material, so it's definitely thinner than that sweater. So I would use a little more wool in this particular doll than I would in this sweater doll. And ignore the belly for now. While you're filling the legs and the arms, just leave the belly completely open. We'll get to that in just a moment. So let's talk about weighting the belly now. This is optional too, so you can just stuff it with wool, similar to how we did the legs if you would like. I'm going to show you how you can safely put some pellets or some kind of weight in the belly. I'm using a sock here, a child's sock. You can use a piece of fabric that matches like the same fabric you made the body out of, about a 4-inch circle, and do the same thing. I just basically use some thread. I prefer upholstery thread. Typically I'm using black thread to show you how this works, but I knot the end of the thread and then I take a stitch just to stabilize it, and then I make a gathering stitch about 1/4 of an inch down from the top all the way around. And you would do the same thing if you were using a piece of fabric to do this as well. It doesn't really matter. You're just making a pouch is all you're doing here. So we'll use this gathering stitch later to completely secure it, but for now we'll just leave it open, and you don't want to tighten it all the way down yet. So grab your weighting material. Again, I'm going to use plastic pellets here, and your little pouch you just made, and your baby body. And if you want to, you can stick that pouch into the body like that temporarily, so you can kind of get a feel for how many pellets you want to go in there. Roughly, a rule of thumb would be about 1 tablespoon of weighting material, but again, it just depends on the type of fabric your doll is made out of, your preferences, and how thick your little pouch is, the fabric. This sock is pretty thick. Also keep in mind that when we're done here adding the weighting material, we're going to actually wrap it in a little bit of wool, so it's actually going to be bigger than just, you know, how many pellets you fill the little pouch with. So here I'm just checking. I take it out. I think it needs a little bit more, so I add a little more pellets. Now I'm happy with it, and once I'm happy with it, I need to secure it, and I tighten that gathering stitch down as tight as I can. And I'll take one stitch just to stabilize it and make it so it won't move again. And once I've got that tight, now I'm going to move around in a clockwise direction, and I'm just going straight through the top, and I just keep moving clockwise around the top of this pouch. I do not want this pouch coming open ever unless somebody cuts it open or something. So once I do that, then I wrap it around a couple times. I knot it a couple times with this loop around the top. Then I take a couple of more back stitches. I just keep stitching the devil out of this thing, and a couple more back stitches until I feel like it's secure. And once it's fully secure, I double knot it and trim off the thread, of course. So you take a small piece of wool, of your wool batting or whatever you're filling that you're using, and you roll your little pouch in it like that and place it in your body. Now you notice that this is, since it's a sock, it has a purple toe, and if you're using a light colored fabric and your little pouch is a different color, it might show through, so you just need to keep that in mind. Now make sure that you have enough space in there to put your head. So you want it full, but you don't want it overly full. It's better to not have quite enough stuffing in the belly at this point than too much, because when we go to attach the head, you can always add more wool if you need to fill out that belly. So this concludes video 3, and in the next video we are going to finally make your baby's head.